we're going to do, right, is we're just going to finish off now. I just want to explain the final couple of pieces, and then it will all come together nicely for you. So let's have a look again at this side-by-side comparison, okay? Kind of how are they different, right? How are they actually different, these two surveys? Well, we've said already that, let's just summarize. One goes to households, 60,000. The other one goes to 144,000 businesses. They both ask them questions about employment, okay? Whereas it's done in slightly different ways. Obviously, with households, it's kind of more a population style survey, whereas this is more, obviously, asking more industry type questions. So it can be broken down into different industries and so on and so forth. But also, if you look here, there are other key differences. So this is what I don't think is, let's make sure I'm not covering anything. Yeah. This is what I don't think is explained very well. So the household survey actually includes, and you can see it here, self-employed. Okay. Unpaid family workers in family businesses. I'm not going to write it, but family, I think it's like private workers and, you know, all sorts of things that are very, you won't be able to get that in a payroll survey because they're not working in a business. You know, it's no use you sending out a survey to a business and saying how many people are self-employed in the country. They don't know, right? They're not employing them. Can you see why the household survey has a big advantage there? Because it has, obviously you can ask people in the household, hey, were you self-employed? Do you see? And people can obviously give that answer. Let's see what else it says here. Yeah, really nothing else, to be honest. Yeah, so this excludes agriculture. Do you remember it's non-farm? Okay, agriculture. Okay, whereas this includes agriculture. So those are the main differences. This is the reason payrolls has, oh God, I don't know what happened there. The reason payrolls has such a focus over the, so this establishment survey over the, it's still a bit thick, isn't it? Over the other survey, yeah, that's better, sorry about that. The reason the payroll survey has kind of more focus, you see that, the payroll's number, so this number, and you know that, right? This number, 199,000, everyone's looking at the payrolls number, because think about it, this payroll number comes directly from businesses' payrolls, okay? So that is why this is considered to be more accurate. Okay, think about it. It's coming directly off the system, their payroll system. They'll be giving the responses based off exact data. Here, you're asking some bloke in his house. Basically, it sounds crude, but it's true. You know, you saw the questions, right? Where I told you go and check out the CPS survey and how it's done. I showed you how to find those questions, and it would say, in the last week, were you? You know, and they're relying on the person giving accurate answers. So can you see it's not done off any system? This payroll is directly off the payroll system of a business, so likely to be more accurate. But it has downsides. It excludes self-employed, right? It doesn't have self-employed people, excludes agriculture, which isn't a bad thing to an extent because obviously that can be seasonal, but it does exclude them. I don't give the whole picture. And also, one final thing, okay, very, very important that you understand, is that even though this captures employment, it's different to this employment. This is a vast topic, right? You can see why this is very, very difficult to explain to someone, but hopefully you're getting it. Or you can see why the lack of understanding is there on this, because it's just, people just don't realize this. But this employment in the household survey, which feeds the unemployment rate, it's a different employment in the sense that, so what I mean by that is, let's say someone's got 3 jobs, okay? they're on the payrolls at, and I'm just making this up, McDonald's, Walmart and Target. That's in the US. Or in the UK, they work at Tesco, Sainsbury's and the local pharmacy. I don't know, okay, I'm just making this up. That's going to be counted 3 times in payrolls. Okay, so if they were the only person in the whole world, payroll number would be 3. The employment number would be 1. Can you see it's employed? Are you employed or unemployed? I'm employed. Okay, 1. Here is not are you employed, it's are you on a payroll? Well, yes, and because they're asking the business, well, Target is not going to talk to McDonald's and compare and say, oh, we got the same person, let's not both go back to the BLS. That's impossible, right? They're all going to respond and say, payroll, yeah, he's on the payroll, he's on the payroll, it's gone back 3 times. Okay, so it's will give slight variances, okay? So I'm not going to do this again. So can you see, even here, this isn't what I just told you, it's not explained very well here. But let's just, one final time, it's really not complicated, kind of is, but it isn't once it's been explained. Let's go through these again. So would you agree? This is why you need to take notes, if you don't mind, and I don't mean that in a patronizing way, it's because I want you to get this. The unemployment rate, just checking it's recording, always scares me, that it isn't. Unemployment rate is the household survey. Yep. And average hourly earnings. And, you know, this is why I brought up average hourly earnings. And do you remember I talked about the Federal Reserve and we went through that as well? I know this is a very long section, but we went through inflationary pressures for the Federal Reserve through average hourly earnings. Can you see? Very important because it is released there. So some people will look at that. You might hear me talk about this in my institutional Sundays sometimes that I do on YouTube. Average hourly earnings, the Federal Reserve will look at that number. So these 2 come from the, and you should be an expert in this now, from the establishment survey, the one sent to businesses, right? Because it's going to be on their payroll, how many hours people worked. And you know, it's very difficult when you send out a survey to people here in the household survey to say, hey, how many hours did you work? Do you see it's going to be so all over the place? It's easier to ask a business about their payroll because it's in their system. It's just there, readily available, much more accurate. That's why it's favored, also has more data that the markets look at with this average hourly earnings. So can you see why they have 2 surveys? They kind of give you really good information from different angles. Some gives you more, as in you get the self-employed and you get agriculture, and obviously you get things from a household perspective, and it doesn't double count because some people might have 3 jobs and you just want to know if they're employed or unemployed. You know, how do you work out the unemployment rate based on payrolls where people are coming back with 3 jobs, right? You can't. That means they're employed. They're not unemployed, basically, right? So you just need to know that. Very difficult to deduce from a payroll. So anyway, 2 different surveys. Let's now recap, okay? The household survey, 60,000 households, measures the employed, includes self-employed, you know, which is not included in the establishment survey, includes agricultural, and counts everyone once. Also more useful from a kind of population. Yeah, you might argue as traders, hey, we don't care, we just want to know who's employed and unemployed. But don't forget, I said it before, we are not the most important people in the world, as much as I hate to admit it. We're insignificant, you know, we're just traders, we're betting, statistically, how do I say it, calculated gambling to an extent, right? It's very calculated though, of course. It's not the same as just, you know, betting on fruit machines or whatever. Obviously it's very calculated gambling, you know, when done correctly. But ultimately, you know, we're not part of, you know, we're part of society, but you know what I mean. Basically, there's much more important kind of people who are looking at this for better reasons than we are, in my opinion, right? There's this whole argument about whether what we do actually adds value to society. Well, hang on, what the government does. We know that because you need government, you need the things that government bring, and you know, they create cohesion in society and a structure. Without them, everything would fall apart. obviously, you know, everyone has bad things to say about them, but the reality is when they do their job properly, it creates a very good society for us to live in. And I'm not going off on a tangent. The point is they can't do that job without this data. They need to have a population breakdown in different sectors. You know, it's maybe the Hispanic community or the, you know, whatever different. And I'm not picking on one community over the other. Obviously, I've got equal respect for all. I'm just saying if there's one ethnic community that isn't necessarily gaining jobs as much as another, the government can step in at a local level and introduce certain measures to make sure that isn't happening. How do you do that without having that breakdown, which you may not have in the establishment survey, right? Whereas the establishment survey breaks things down from an industry perspective. Which industries are lagging? Do you see they give slightly different cuts? Okay, that was my point. So coming back to the establishment survey, it's more done via payroll. So it's physical numbers of people who are on the payroll. They could be on the payrolls at 4 companies. They're going to be counted 4 times. It's the exact number. Instead of 60,000, it's sent out to 144,000 businesses. It also includes average hourly earnings, excludes agriculture. Okay. Hopefully that's given you a really good insight. I want you to also do your own research. Make sure you agree with everything I've told you. If I've missed anything out, let me know, right? Obviously, I'm here to learn as well. Maybe when you do your in-depth research, there's something I've missed out. Okay, so now can you see? Incredible. You are going to have a better idea more than anyone else what on earth this number means. It is an absolute embarrassment. I don't think I know a single person, and again, I'm sorry about this to say this, but it's true, in the retail sector who has a foggiest what that number actually means in the way I've just explained it to you. Okay, so now we know that 199,000 is the increase or decrease in payrolls. Okay, sent out to 145,000 businesses. That number comes back from those businesses, and we know overall, and you'll see me talk about the sector breakdown, you know, and we can talk about that in a moment. This, you know, a lot of people ask me, Envy, how do you do institutional Sundays? How do you do economic research? How do you understand all these breakdowns? It's because I understand this goes out to 145,000 businesses. They break it down into sectors. So when I see the sectors, I understand, oh yeah, that makes sense to me. I know what's going on. It's a survey sent by the BLS to these companies. This is what it means. And yeah, basically I understand it to a high level of detail because I've taken time to understand how it's compiled and what it actually is. Otherwise, I don't know how on earth people know. What on earth is that number? You know, do they really understand it? Probably not. Same for average hourly earnings, same for the unemployment rate. So what we're going to do, because we now understand the 2 surveys, what I want to do just finally before we finish off is, let's actually have a look at some of this data. Okay, so with the unemployment rate, now we understand exactly what it is. It's the unemployed people in the labor force, right? And we talked about what the labor force is. It's people who are actively looking for work, and we can go and have a look. So have a look, latest release. Okay, so for me, it's 3.9%, January the 7th. Let's have a look at it over here. I just want to make sure I'm not blocking anything. So what you can do is you can read the release. Now, obviously, people will be reading the release, and straight away, can you see here, revision of seasonally adjusted household survey data. You know what the household survey data is now. We went through it. Household survey data summary, unemployment rate, blah, 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 blah. Number of unemployed persons decreased by whatever to 6.3 million, etc., etc. What I'd actually like to do, you can read all of this in your own time, and it breaks it down into various cuts and things and that we talked about. What I think I'd like to do with you just before we finish is I'd actually like to go through the actual data and actually show you how it's calculated. So if you go, we'll do the unemployment rate first. So if you go here, and I'll show you where you can find it, I believe, again, a vast website, isn't it? You can either go, there's various places where you can find it. I think you can go here, employment and unemployment. So that was right at the top, economic releases, monthly, employment situation. Okay, and you can have a look here, and I think it's got the charts there and so on and so forth, and then employment situation. So you can actually have a look at the text release that is released at on the Friday basically. So you have that there, but actually what you can do is, let's go here, major economic indicators. Now, where is it gone? I really struggle with this website, right? It's all, everything is all over the place. No, it's not here. There is a place here. Data tools, BLS popular series. Okay, so it is here. Okay, it's a nightmare. Okay, you can tell I want to scream, but I don't really. I'm just joking, but it is a nightmare. You can either go there, okay, but there is another place that I like to look. So data tools. You can either come here, okay, top picks, basically BLS popular series. There's also this US economy at a glance. Okay, and if you click on that, can you see here unemployment rate? Okay, and then that will take you back to here, and you can see all the stats here. Unemployment rate, change in unemployment level. You can click on it and you'll see all the stats here. The problem is, okay, so you've got the stats here, okay, so can you see 3.9 basically is what I've got here, 3.9. Obviously when you look at this it'll be different, but as you know, this isn't, it's never good enough for me, right? I want to show you how this 3.9 is actually broken down, and hardly anyone understands this, okay, and it's so important to understand. Don't just take 3.9 for a given. So whilst it's here, right, can you see this chart? Very similar to our, identical to our dashboard, right? So let me just bring up the, where is it? The dashboard there. Do you see that? That little jump and cut, okay? Same thing, basically, right? This and this. So it is the same. But what I want to show you, let me just move this out of the way. Sorry, I know I'm jumping. You can see why it's impossible for me to teach you this on a PowerPoint. We have to jump around a little bit. But what I do want to show you, so if you go data tools, popular series, okay, or there's various ways, okay, databases or whatever, series, data finder. No, not data finder. I just want to make sure that you see all the different ways of getting here. This one I think it is, that's it. Top picks, so you can either go popular series, top picks, whatever, it doesn't matter. And then employment, okay, and it's got all the various different employment kind of statistics, and basically I believe it's this one, labor force statistics. Okay, so data finder, click on that. So you can see here all the various statistics. Now the one that you need, you can have a look at all of these, right? Unemployment rate, labor force participation, and the one that you need is the civilian force, is it level? Yeah, it's this one, civilian labor force level. Okay, so you can see the series ID here. Okay, and actually what I'm going to do, it's probably easier if I just go and do the popular series. It's the same thing, you'll see the same ID. Can you see that? LNS, blah, 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 civilian labor force. Okay, so what you need to realize is that the unemployment rate, what is that? 3.9%. It's the number of people unemployed over the number of people looking for work, the labor force. Okay, how many people are unemployed? How many people in the labor force? Okay, it's a bit of a nightmare because they show them as separate series. Okay, so first you go here, civilian labor force. Okay, and I don't know actually, I've never tried this before. Maybe it will let you see both. Click on retrieve data. Perfect. Okay, so it lets you see both. So actually it's not as bad as I thought. Usually in the past I've just taken them out one by one and just flicked out the Excel spreadsheets, but that's okay. You're still gonna have to do it that way, to be fair. And actually you can see it here. So it's number in thousands, okay? So it's 162,294 times 1,000. What that is basically saying is 162.3 million people were in the labor force actively looking for work. That is based on what? The household survey sent to the 60,000 or whatever households it is. How many people were unemployed? 6,319 times 1,000. So 6.3 million. Okay. You can do that on your calculator, but actually we're going to do one better. Okay. What you can do is you can actually download the Excel series reports. Okay, and let's open them up. Okay, just give me a second. It's just opening up. It seems to be opening on a different page. There you go. Okay. Got that there, and you've got that there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this across. Unemployment level, copy. Okay, I'm going to put this here, paste. Okay, so can you see now I've got on one page, just do this as an exercise, okay? This is the labor force here. Can you see how the labor force has changed over time? Right? And you know what's fascinating? Can you see when COVID struck, can you see the labor force dropped? Why? Because COVID hit, people were sick, the number of people looking for work, can you see it dropped quite drastically there from February, March to April. And can you see it's not quite recovered yet? It may have when you actually come to look at this. Fascinating. You can see the number of people actively looking for work dropped during the COVID situation. And this was talked about a lot in economic research I was reading. Now, if I don't understand this data, see, I'm just blindly following what CNBC and whatever Bloomberg and this and that are telling me. I never do that. I will always have my own view or look at things and double check, and I will disagree with them. If they say something different, that the labor force is actually strengthening, I'll say no, sorry. I'm sorry, mate, it's not. I don't agree with that. I see it dropping off here, or it may be coming back, but it's nowhere near where it was pre-COVID levels. Do you see so important? This is why I'm not explaining this data to you to, make your life a nightmare. It's because I want you to become better and independent at understanding fundamentals. You'll never do it in a million years unless you put this work in. Anyway, speech over. I'm just trying to encourage you why we're going through all this work. Okay, so what the unemployment rate is, 3.9%, right? And I hope this is it, because I'm going to look a bit silly otherwise. Is the number of unemployed, 6.3 million, would you agree? Divided by the labor force, the number of people looking for work, equals 3.89. Let's put that as a percentage. And one decimal place, 3.9. Okay, that is where, ladies and gentlemen, you really need to understand. I would highly doubt if even 0.00000, and I could keep going, 1.0001% of people who trade understand this. It is a complete and utter shambles, right? And I don't say that lightly. I wish it wasn't the case, but I think that, deep down, people just don't have a Scooby where this number's coming from. Now you see how far ahead, if you keep sticking at this for a few months, and you're really going to get a good handle on the ISM that I've showed you, the unemployment, and a few others that we're going to look at. You're going to understand this very, very well. Let's look at the history, 4.2, 4.6, 4.8, and see if we can deduce that ourselves. Let's go back to this Excel spreadsheet. Let's do our own table down below. I could form this nicely. Really, it's overkill. Okay, you don't need to do this every single month. Obviously, just do it for the purposes of understanding. Oh, I understand how the 3.9 is calculated, or the whatever the rate is when you are doing this exercise. So let me just get rid of this. That's it. Once you've done it a few times, you can check this once in a while. You don't need to, unless you have to. It's just, I just want you to do it so you understand how this data is calculated. I think it's fascinating to know this. So you don't need to draw another table underneath, but what you can do, just work it out, equals that over the population, right? So we know that. So you do that as a percentage and then 1 decimal place. Now you can literally just drag it across. Hopefully this does match the history, otherwise I'm going to look a bit silly. 4.2, 4.6, 4.7. 4.2, 4.6. 4.8, so it is 4.2, 4.6, 4.8, 5.2, 5.4. There is a reason why it was ever so slightly out, and I will explain that. It's because of revisions. I'm sure you understand some of this data is revised on occasion. So you can see it here. 5.2, 5.4, can you see that? 5.4, 5.2, 4.7, 4.6, 4.2, and then 3.9. Bang on, apart from this one, which is at 4.6, just purely down to some revision. Sometimes it is revised. Like I said, they will go back the BLS and just double check data, but you know, you can have a look for that yourself. There will be some revisions in time. You can see at 5.9, 5.9, 5.8, 6.1. Can you see that one? And this is 6.0. So slight revision there. 6.0, 6.2, 6.4 slight revision. Basically spot on. Okay. So just to confirm to you what is going on here, it's the number of employed for all of these. 6.8 million people were unemployed based on that household survey that's sent out. They estimate that in the whole population, based on that it's 6.8 unemployed. 162 million, 126,000 people are willing and ready to work. Therefore, the unemployment rate is 4.2, and that is what the FOMC, government, everyone will be using this. Cannot explain to you how important this is. So now, really exciting for me. I'm so happy to share this information with people, because otherwise it's just, you know, I'm sitting here, a little old me on my own, looking at this, understanding this, you know, very, very well, and no one else does. So now I'm glad that you do. There's just one more left to do. So if we go here to non-farm employment change, again, you can go back to, either you can go straight to the website. You should be pretty familiar with this website now, right? There's two ways to do it. You can have a look at the text, so latest release, and it will be there. Okay, economic releases, and you can kind of see the breakdown. So for me, 199,000 in December. So you can take the number straight off the text, which is quite nice. And they've got the kind of, they summarize it for you quite nicely. They give you the highlights, which sectors and this and that. They break down into various sectors: leisure and hospitality, professional business services, manufacturing, construction, all of the different payrolls, right? You can see it. Job gains occurred in support activities for transportation, air transportation, plus 6,000. Plus 181,000 here, couriers and messengers, plus 202. There would have been some minuses as well, but the point is net, it all broke down to, what was it, 199? Yeah, 199,000, which you can see there, 199,000, okay? But we want to just go and find it on the website. I don't know why, I don't know if this is the right one that they show here. It must be this one, total non-farm employment. But I just want to show you how to find it, not just the popular series, but from like the main place. So is this top picks, one screen, multi-screen, etc., etc. And if you go to data finder, I think we might have used this for the year-on-year CPI, isn't it? Yeah, we did, somewhere here. But yes, employment, and when we were building the dashboard, right, for CPI. And if you go to, it's the CES, right, the establishment survey, and I believe it's this, employment hours and earnings, obviously at a national level, data finder. Click on that. Can you see, it's very interesting actually here. You've got all the breakdown. Can you see government, education and health services, goods producing, service producing, construction, leisure, and I'm not going to download all of these, right? It'd be completely crazy to do that. People don't generally do that. That's why that summary is quite nice. But at least now, when you read some economic research, and you see them talking about construction, leisure and hospitality, coal, and what they've done is economists will have downloaded all of these one by one, and when they sum up together, they'll come to 199,000. So for us, let's just double check that the total is correct. So we click on this, right? You saw that? Just make sure you saw that. This all employees, thousands, total non-farm seasonally adjusted. And it is that, okay? And it's actually giving you better data than what you see on your calendar, because what it's actually giving you, right? So it says 148,951. See if you can pause this and guess what that actually is, okay? All right, so basically what that is that's the number of people on the payroll, okay? So it's 148,951,000. The month before was 148,752,000. What's the difference? 199,000. So my maths a bit terrible. Yeah, 199,000. Okay, so you can. So it is that CES, all the zeros one. Remember I said popular series? So you can find it there as well. Employment, CES, that's the code for it. Just wanted to show you where to find it on the kind of main website. So it's here. Because the advantage of using this is it also breaks it down into all the different sectors if you're interested. Okay, I don't necessarily think you need to look at that, but obviously when I'm doing economic research, sometimes if something looks dodgy to me in a number, I might just come and check it. Okay, but generally I'll take their word for it. It's this main one, which obviously I will just occasionally just have a look at. This is more, I just want to show you what that is. You know, a lot of people, in fact, I don't think I know anyone outside of, obviously I worked with some very good institutional traders who would have known this, but very, very few people I know who actually trade understand what that 199,000 is. They just say, hey, 199,000, whoopee-doo. Complete and utter nonsense, right? They don't realize that, to be honest, you know, do people realize the payroll has gone from 148,752,000 and jumped to 148,951,000. That's for me. Obviously, when you come to do this, it will be slightly different stats. You can even download it and prove it yourself. So you hit Excel, download, open up the Excel file. Let's bring it down. Okay. Observation value. Now for me, again for me, this is January 2022, so it's last month's payroll is 148,951. If I deduct that minus the month before, 199,000, right? And what do we have there? 199. Okay, I'm not going to go and do all the rest of them. You'll already know. Some, obviously, there'll be revisions taking place, so it won't match the exact, because the first releases are obviously preliminary and they do get revised. But now you understand better than anyone where that 199,000 payroll change is coming from. Okay, it is the number of people on payrolls in what survey? The establishment survey that goes out to, I can't remember now, is it 145,000 businesses? I seem to have lost that Excel sheet. There we go. 145,000 businesses. That means 148,951,000 people are on payrolls, or as in not people, but payroll workers, basically. Because don't forget, some people could be on 2 or 3 different payrolls, so it won't be the exact number of people, but roughly speaking, the change is 199,000 on the month, and that's how you get that number. And then just finally, the average hourly earnings, which is very important. You can find that. Let's have a look. Let's go back to data tools and back to topics, and believe it's here somewhere. The establishment survey, hours and earnings, data finder. Okay, can you see that average hourly earnings? Again, people look at this number, 0.6%. Do they have a clue what it means? No, what it's basically saying, average earnings. Can you see why the Fed looks at this as inflation? Because right now, the average earnings of all employees in the private sector, seasonally adjusted, is $31.31 an hour. Okay, That has gone up from last month, the month before, which was $31.12. Can you see, right? A year ago, people were earning $27 an hour. They're now earning more money. They're going to demand more goods. What's going to happen? Inflation's going to go up. That's why the Federal Reserve likes to keep a track of this and say, hang on, earnings are getting out of control. Yeah, we want people to be prosperous, but not so much that it causes inflation and makes life expensive for everyone else, right? So obviously, can you see? This is what they're looking at, and I'll even prove it to you, or you prove it to yourself. Download it. Okay, open up the data. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, so we expect earnings to have gone up how much? 0.6% month on month, right? Let's prove that to ourselves, that is what that number is. So don't forget, this is $31.31. For you, obviously, it will be a different number. Equals that divided by that minus 1, okay? Turn it into a percentage, 0.6%, okay? And if there was any doubt left, what's the number here? 0.6, okay? So hopefully, you're really, really excited about, or actually feel like you're learning something here. And, I'm really happy to be able to, like I said, I was a bit concerned about this understanding section that, how am I going to explain all of this? But I'm happy that it's been able to kind of deliver some real value to you in terms of explaining what these numbers are, because now you're going to understand, oh, okay, that's the actual earnings that people earn. It's about $30 at the moment. It's jumped up a little bit. Okay, I see the Fed is going to be concerned, or it's come down, and all these things. The analysis is obviously something that you can do separately, and we will discuss it obviously later on. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. You should understand these two better than anyone else. Is the most important statistic. Exactly how they come about. We can discuss a little bit of analysis in the future. For this task, obviously, I explained to you, I want you to do a lot of work yourself. I want you to go through the website, with the data tools, and I can't remember where it was, wasn't it? It was here, the question and answer section, the what are household and establishment surveys, and then there's this quick guide here, and then you can break the quick guide down further into the different surveys, and so on and so forth, right? I can't remember exactly where it was. Yeah, it was further down, wasn't it? You go further down, side-by-side comparison. You can check out the surveys for yourself. Hopefully you would have done this already. There was actually, in fact, there was one other thing. Obviously, just coming back to that point, you can go and check out the surveys. Current population survey, CPS, and just clicking on that. Sorry, my internet is a little bit slow for some reason. In fact, I think it's their website. Probably been clicking on it too much, right? You see, it's actually their website. It's not letting me go into that section. Open. It seems to have jammed their website, right? We've been using it too much during this module. You can see all the other ones work fine. But you remember anyway, right? You can go into here, and then there's the section on the side. I'll try it in just a moment. I'll see if I can... Nah, it doesn't seem to want to work. Sorry about that. Can blame the BLS, not me. What I wanted to do is I just wanted to highlight this one other part where they've actually showed you that the surveys are very, very similar. So even though one is sent to businesses, one is sent to households, they do produce very, very similar results, which you'd expect. Obviously, they're reflecting kind of what's employed, and you can read about this. Okay, so it will say here the household survey is the red line. Think about it. You can pause this, answer this question. Why do you think that the red, as in the household survey, would give a higher number of people employed than the establishment survey, which is, I believe, the blue line, orange payroll survey. So that's the establishment, that is the household. So this blue one. Why do you think that's higher? Okay, so you've probably paused it and come back. It's because, remember, this includes agriculture. Remember, this is non-farm, this one, the payroll. Doesn't include agriculture. Okay. And self-employed. Okay, and also some people who, you know, work for people at home, maybe unpaid or this or that, and that's still counted as employed. I think it's over 15 hours unpaid work is counted as unemployed. I could be wrong, but I think that's it. But can you see there's more people included in that? Self-employed agriculture, that's why it's higher. But the actual trend is the same, right? The magnitude of movement is very, very similar. And I think the BLS do some work to adjust it. Can you see they adjust it? As in, I think they strip out those extras. So you can see here. So yeah, it says here it's higher because the household survey has a broader employment definition, which we just discussed. And basically, they do some work to strip them out. So when it's stripped out, which is the blue, it is actually very, very close. Sorry, it's the blue, the adjusted. So when they adjust this red line downwards to try and make it as similar as possible, can you see it's virtually identical? Okay, so that should give you some really good perspective on the two as well, to kind of see that they are very, very similar, but obviously have different purposes and help them to. I think they do it because it's such an important number, as I explained at the start. That's why they do the two surveys. But anyway, I'm absolutely exhausted. This is probably one of the most tiring modules I've done, but I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you have too. In fact, if I'm exhausted, you must be even more exhausted, because you're actually having to sit there and listen. Probably put you to sleep, but hopefully that's been useful for you, and we'll reconvene. Take a break, take a few days off. Really don't jump ahead, you're doing yourself a disservice. Do the exercises, go through the sections, do your own little table summaries of what you understand of the two different surveys. Understand them, because this is absolutely crucial, this report. And before we move on to the next section, which I believe is going to be inflation, and then we'll have a quick chat about inflation. Hopefully it won't be that long, and yeah, I'll see you on the other side.